He is tending the flocks of his father-in-law Jethro. And that's where we pick up the story. Moses takes these flocks out beyond the wilderness, the NRSV says, to the other side of the wilderness where the mountain of God is, Horeb, or Sinai is the same mountain later on as we come to it in Exodus and Numbers. And so Moses is out beyond the wilderness with his father-in-law's sheep grazing them, and he sees a bush that is burning. Now this is a hot, dry, arid place. It's not completely surprising that there's a bush on fire, but Moses notices that this bush is not being consumed. It's not being burned up. And so he turns aside. He says, I must see this great sight why the bush does not burn. And as soon as the Lord notices that Moses has turned, the Lord calls to him. He says, Moses. And Moses says, here I am. And the Lord says to Moses, do not come any closer. Take off your sandals. You are standing on holy ground. When Moses comes to this place of holy ground, when he removes his sandals and sees God, he receives his mission, what he's told to do, because the Lord has heard the suffering of his people in Egypt, and he is sending Moses to set his people free. And after this, Moses joins up with Aaron and Miriam, and they lead the people out of Egypt and put in a new beginning to the story that we all know over the course of the Hebrew Bible and into the New Testament. So Moses has this great and wonderful moment, and I think there are three things about living a life of wonder that we can learn from Moses in this moment. The first is that we should be curious. Moses was looking around, he was paying attention, and he noticed that there was a bush burning and that it wasn't burning up. And that's something that we can all practice in our lives, is to walk around and see what's out there in front of us. Look around for the wonderful things that are there. The second thing is that Moses was open to this experience. When God called to Moses out of the bush, Moses said, here I am, not, I need to be over there very fast. Moses was open to the experience. He was open to what God was going to tell him. And that's our second lesson. So we need to be curious, we need to be open to what's in front of us. And then we also need to remember that an experience of wonder leaves you changed. Moses, after this, was no longer just Zipporah's husband or Jethro's son-in-law. He was Moses who was going to lead the people out of Egypt. And so when we live lives of wonder, when we're curious and when we're open to what can happen, we will be changed. And this is what those who study awe and wonder tell us actually happens to any of us humans who experience something wonderful. The technical definition of awe, which is what wonder is related to, is an experience of transcendence that has to be accommodated into your mental structures. And all those big fancy words mean that an experience of awe is when you run into something much bigger than yourself. It could be the ocean when you realize how vast it is, or the nighttime sky when you realize how far away all those little blinking dots are, or when you hold a baby in your arms and realize the whole universe is here in between the two of you. All of those experiences with something bigger than yourself are transcendent experiences. So if you have transcendence, it changes you in some way. You need to change how you think after you have one of these experiences. That's what accommodation means. And so to have an experience of wonder, you have interaction with something bigger than you that changes you in some way. And they often find that that change is something that makes you more altruistic, more likely to be giving to other people around you. There's a profound example of awe experience or wonder experience that astronauts have. It's called the overview effect. When they look at the Earth from space, when they see our planet, this lovely little blue marble, as fragile as it is, and as glorious as it is down below them, they immediately have this feeling of wonder and awe and of love for this little rock. They see how it needs to be preserved and cared for, and how everyone in it is connected in a way that we don't get to see from here on the ground. From space, no matter how high we build our walls, we are all still part of the same planet. We are all still from the same soil that gives us form and life when God breathed it into us. And so astronauts will have these wonderful experiences of awe, and they will come back to Earth and work to build bridges between people, to make people more loving. And this should surprise us as Christians, because as Christians, we understand that when you're connected to something bigger than yourself, you're connected to God. And we believe that God is love, so being connected to a loving God should also make us love others. This is something that's at the core of our gospel. The loving God who made all of us, who made all of these wonderful things, and the loving God who came to earth as Jesus, love incarnate, to give God's self for us. And the loving God who lives with us each and every day as the Holy Spirit, the love that upholds all of us. When we connect to that God, of course we're going to become more loving. If we want to understand love, we want to look at somebody who had his own experience of wonder, and that's Paul. Paul had such a profound experience of wonder that it knocked him off his donkey on the road to Damascus. And he writes in 1 Corinthians about the type of life that he turned to living after he had this experience of wonder. Because he changed from being somebody who was persecuting the church and fighting against his enemies to somebody who spent his life trying to show others that there is a more wonderful way, a more excellent way. In the passage that Pastor Monica read this morning, we hear that love is the thing that endures. Love is the thing that never fails. Love is the thing that remains. Because our knowledge right now is only temporary knowledge. It's incomplete knowledge. I know we're all going back to school in the next couple of weeks, and that is great and good and exciting, and go learn all of the things that you can learn. But they're always going to be incomplete, because as we see now, we see in a mirror dimly, as through a mirror dimly. But then when the things have become complete, when we understand what it is like to love and be loved, we will see each other face to face. We will know as we have been known, is what Paul says here in 1 Corinthians. And so we live in this world that has so many wonderful things in it, but we only ever get to see a taste of what the next thing will be. And it's up to us to use our imaginations to see what the world could be like. And Paul tells us that what we should be using our imaginations to do is to imagine a world of love, where love fills everything and makes us patient and kind, makes us not puffed up, and does not make us put ourselves before others, where we are able to believe and hope and bear all things, because we are so buoyed up by love in the first place. So Moses tells us how to live these lives of wonder, to be curious and open, and to know that we will be changed. And Paul tells us that when we are changed into loving people. When we have experiences of wonder, we will then be more loving. But Moses had a burning bush, and Paul got to see the risen Lord. And I don't know about you, but I have not seen much shrubbery on fire recently, and nobody has spoken to me out of it. So what can all of us do who aren't going to get these theophanies, who aren't going to have these amazing, life-changing experiences every single day of our lives? Well, we do get small ones. There's a poet, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, and a couple of verses from her, I think, help us to know how we need to live our lives. She says, "Earth's crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit around it and pluck blackberries." It is our job to be the people who see that earth is crammed with heaven, that there is holiness all around us, that every common bush is on fire with God. To see the wonder in every moment around us takes a lifetime of practice, but it is something that we can always do. And in that lifetime of practicing, of looking for the wonder around us, that wonder will rub back off on us. That connection to God will connect us back to the love that made everything and make us more loving. This is how we are called to live our lives as Christians. It's what I would like to recommend to you this morning. Go out and live lives of wonder. Live lives that are aimed toward love, and in so doing, make the world more wonderful. Amen.